Welcome to the deep dive,
Great to be here.
where we take an idea, sometimes one you've shared, and really dig into it.
Yeah, explore its core.
Today, it's a concept called Indra's net. It's ancient, but also feels very now.
Extremely relevant. We're using Francis Cook's Hua-Yen Buddhism, the Jewel Net of Indra, as our main guide.
Right. So the mission today is to unpack this Buddhist metaphor, see where it comes from.
And trace how it connects to, well, some surprisingly modern ideas. We want to make it accessible.
Hopefully spark some thoughts for you listening.
Exactly. Maybe some aha moments along the way.
Okay, so let's paint the picture first. Imagine this enormous net, infinite maybe,
Stretching in all directions, yeah.
three-dimensional. And at every single knot, every intersection, there's a jewel, a single shining jewel.
Right. Radiant.
But here's the kicker, right? Each jewel doesn't just sit there.
No, it reflects.
It perfectly reflects every other jewel in the entire infinite net.
And not just that, within those reflections, within each reflected jewel, you see all the other jewels reflected again.
And again, infinitely.
Infinitely. It's this staggering image of complete interconnection.
Wow. So every little flicker, every shadow on one jewel.
Plays across the whole thing, ripples out, joy, sorrow, everything.
That's a powerful image to start with.
It really is. And it's not just, a pretty picture. It's fundamental to the Hua-Yen school of Buddhism.
Which was in China, right? During the Tang Dynasty.
Exactly. Roughly 7th to 10th centuries. That's when it really flourished.
But the idea itself, the jewel net, it existed before Hua-Yen.
The seeds were there, yes. Earlier Buddhist scriptures mention the wonderful jewel net of Indra. So Hua-Yen didn't just, invent it from scratch.
Ah, okay, so they developed an existing image.
Precisely. The idea of this net adorning the god Indra's palace was around. Hua-Yen scholars took that potent image and really expanded on it.
To describe what? Reality. The universe.
Pretty much. To describe a cosmos defined by radical interdependence. They really leaned into that quality of infinite reflections.
Each jewel reflecting all others, and all their reflections within reflections.
Yeah, that recursive infinite quality is key. It highlights this inherent relationship woven into everything.
An infinite jewel-filled hall of mirrors, reflecting, well, everything.
You got it.
So what's the main takeaway? What's the core insight from this glittering vision?
The big idea is that this symbolizes a cosmos where everything interpenetrates.
Interpenetrates.
Yeah, and is mutually intercausal. Things don't just exist side by side. They exist through each other.
Mutually intercausal, meaning they cause each other
I think-
simultaneously.
Exactly. That simultaneous mutual identity and mutual intercausality is central to Hua-Yen. Think about it. One jewel only exists because all the others exist and reflect it.
So its existence is totally dependent.
Utterly dependent. It has no isolated reality.
Right, it's not like it exists on its own and then starts reflecting.
Precisely. Cook uses this great analogy with 10 coins. Imagine 10 coins. The existence of any single coin isn't just incidental to the others. It's fundamentally dependent on, and you could even say identical with, the existence of the other 9.
How so? Identical.
In the sense that the totality of the 10 coins is the necessary condition for each individual coin. And, kind of paradoxically, each individual coin is also essential for the totality.
It's a web.
A web of mutual arising. Okay, my brain's working here, but I think I follow. So Hua-Yen isn't seeing separate things bumping around,
Not at all. It's more like a single, unified, interconnected field.
where identity and interdependence aren't just features, they are the reality.
They are the ground of being, yes. That's the Hua-Yen view, which is, quite different from a lot of Western thought that often starts with the individual.
Yeah, we tend to think, here I am, then how do I relate?
Right. Here, the relationship, the interconnectedness comes first. It's primary.
That really is a fundamental shift. So if everything is that deeply connected, what about individual things? Like us, people, trees? Well, the Hua-Yen idea is that nothing, no thing, no person has a fixed, independent self-nature, like a core thingness that's separate.
So my identity isn't just mine.
Your identity, its identity, comes entirely from interdependence, from its relationship with everything else.
So to understand one thing, you have to understand everything else.
In a deep sense, yes. You need to see its connections. It's like trying to understand a single note without hearing the whole symphony it belongs to.
Right. You can't grasp it in isolation if its very nature is relational.
Exactly. And this happens through what Buddhism calls pratyahasa mutpada, dependent origination, or intercausality.
Everything arising depending on conditions.
Right. And in Indra's net, the light, the brilliance, the very presence of each jewel arises because of all the others reflecting onto it.
It's a constant mutual creation.
A mutual giving rise to existence and qualities.
Yes.
Yeah, they aren't just passively coexisting. They're actively shaping each other moment by moment.
Wow. Okay.
And Hua-Yen philosophy does this beautiful thing where it integrates the idea of identical essence.
Like the underlying nature of reality.
Yeah, the fundamental isness. It integrates that with different essence of the unique ways things appear. Their specific forms.
To the one and the many.
Exactly. And they aren't seen as contradictory. They're understood through this deep interpenetration. The underlying reality expresses itself as all these diverse, interdependent forms.
And where does emptiness fit in? Because that word, shunyata, it often sounds like nothingness.
That's a really important point. It's often misunderstood.
Yeah.
Emptiness in Buddhism isn't nihilism. It doesn't mean nothing exists.
Okay.
It means things lack inherent independent existence. They are empty of a separate, fixed self.
Ah, so it's the lack of that separate self.
Precisely. And it's because things are empty in that specific way that they can be interdependent. If each jewel was a solid, unchanging, independent thing.
It couldn't reflect anything else or be reflected.
Exactly. The emptiness, the lack of inherent separation is what allows for the infinite connections, the whole play of Indra's net.
Okay, that flips it. It's not absence. It's potential for connection.
You could put it that way. It enables the relationship.
So this ancient Buddhist vision,
Yeah.
radical interconnectedness, you said it echoes today. Where are we seeing these reflections, these mirrorings?
Well, one really striking parallel is in neural networks, artificial intelligence.
How so?
Think about how they're built. You have nodes, right, like neurons.
Yeah.
They're all interconnected. Each one influences and is influenced by many others. The network's overall intelligence or function doesn't live in any single node.
It emerges from the interactions.
Exactly. It emerges from the complex web of connections. Just like the light and pattern of Indra's net emerges from all the jewels reflecting each other, no single neuron holds the whole picture.
That's a really vivid analogy, a network giving rise to something bigger. What about more human stuff, like collective trauma?
Yes, absolutely. Indra's net provides a powerful metaphor for that. How trauma experienced by one person or one group.
It doesn't stay contained.
It ripples out. It affects the whole net society, maybe even consciousness itself. The pain in one part can be reflected, felt, maybe show up in unexpected ways elsewhere.
Like unseen connections.
Exactly. But, and this is crucial, the same applies to healing and joy.
Ah, so the good stuff ripples too.
Definitely. Resilience, recovery, happiness in one jewel can strengthen and brighten the whole net. It's not just about shared suffering, but shared well-being too.
That leads naturally to compassion, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. If you truly grasp this deep interconnectedness, that the well-being of every other jewel is tied up with your own.
And compassion isn't just a nice idea.
It becomes a recognition of reality, a fundamental truth. Acting with compassion is acknowledging that shared fate, that underlying unity. Your well-being is reflected in theirs, and vice versa.
It changes it from an optional virtue to just how things are.
Precisely. And, stepping into slightly more speculative areas.
Go for it.
This concept resonates with some newer ideas in AI, too, like distributed intelligence. The idea that agency, or maybe even awareness, isn't located in one central spot.
But emerges from the interaction of many parts.
Right, or even philosophical ideas about consciousness itself. Maybe it's not purely individual, maybe it's more like a field, a property of interconnection.
Like the net itself has a kind of awareness.
Well, that's pushing it maybe, but the metaphor opens up those kinds of questions. It offers a different lens for these very modern explorations.
Okay, let's go back to something you said earlier, the part containing the whole. The single jewel reflecting the entire net. That's still bending my mind a bit.
It's a core Hua-Yen teaching, and it sounds paradoxical, I know. The part contains the whole, and the whole is in every part.
How do they explain that?
Cook uses the analogy of a building and a rafter. Think about a single wooden rafter.
Okay, holding up the roof.
Right. It's clearly part of the building, but its entire nature, its shape, its function, why it even exists, is defined by being part of that whole building.
You can't understand the rafter without understanding the building it's in.
Exactly. Its rafterness comes from its relationship to the whole structure. It supports and is supported by the whole.
And of course, the building needs the rafters.
Yep.
And the walls, the foundation, Remove the parts, and the whole disappears.
Precisely. It's mutual dependence. Now map that back to Indra's net. Each jewel, though it looks distinct,
Inherently contains the whole net through its reflection.
yes, it doesn't just reflect part of the net, it reflects the entirety. So in its reflective capacity, it embodies the whole. The totality is mirrored right there in each individual element.
So in this view, even the tiniest thing holds the entire cosmos within it.
That is the profound implication, yes. Everything contains everything else.
And that must change how you think about living, right?
Absolutely. It have very direct consequences for how we're encouraged to live.
So if you really buy into this Indra's net vision, how does that change things practically?
Well, the Hua-Yen perspective really pushes for a way of living that honors and values this deep interconnectedness. It's not just an intellectual idea.
It becomes an ethic.
Yes. And it fits perfectly with the bodhisattva ideal in Mahayana Buddhism.
The enlightened being who postpones their own final nirvana to help others.
Right. Because from the Indra's net perspective, how could you achieve final, separate enlightenment? Your fate is tied to everyone else's. Their suffering is, in a sense, your suffering. Their liberation is tied to yours.
So it's inherently compassionate. You can't win alone.
Exactly. It's a shared journey. And it also means that in this Hua-Yen universe, everything counts. Everything matters.
Because of the ripples.
Because of the interconnectedness. Every action, maybe even every thought, sends ripples through the net. It has significance. Nothing is truly insignificant.
Even small actions contribute to the whole picture.
They inevitably do.
Yeah.
It really encourages a sense of, well, responsibility for the whole.
You can see how that would foster a different way of being in the world.
Definitely. It reframes cause and effect, highlighting just how far-reaching our interactions really are.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive into Indra's net. What are the absolute key things for you, the listener, to take away?
I'd say first, just the power of the metaphor itself. Indra's net is this incredible image of radical interconnectedness, mutual reflection, mutual influence.
Hard to forget once you picture it.
Right. Second, the specific Hua-Yen Buddhist understanding of identity that it comes from interdependence, not separateness, a real alternative view.
Challenging our usual assumptions.
Yeah. And third, just how surprisingly relevant this ancient idea feels today. The echoes we see in neuroscience, psychology, even technology and philosophy.
It's not just some dusty old concept.
Not at all. It speaks to us now.
It really leaves you with that shimmering image, doesn't it? The infinite web, the reflecting jewels, a reminder of profound unity.
Mutual influence shaping everything.
So the final thought for you to ponder.
How does really internalizing this deep interconnectedness change how you see your own actions, their impact?
What does it mean? What are the implications if you see yourself not as separate, but as one of those reflecting jewels within this infinite, luminous net?
Yeah. What changes when you see yourself in the net and the net in you? Something to keep contemplating.